Hatfield. I'm joined by our Wolves correspondent Tim Spiers. We found a room in Compton Park, Tim, nice and warm, avoiding that rain.
Terrible weather today.
Not great.
Thanks to Wolves for finding us the most attractive room in the building. So here we are.
yeah, very, very nice. Let's talk about the Brighton games. You've just been speaking to Nuno, of course.
Yeah.
Wasn't really looking back toward the defeat too much against Watford. Very much looking forward, wasn't he?
Yeah, and that's always his mantra, and it's worked very well for Wolves in the past. I mean, they lost only 7 Championship games last season, and they bounced back every time. After every league defeat, they won 5 of their next fixtures out of those 7, all with a clean sheet. Another one was a 0-0 draw at Brentford, which was after the Cardiff defeat, and then the last defeat was on the last day of the season against Sunderland. So my point is that they bounced back pretty well with a clean sheet after every single defeat. So that comes from him and his mentality, and being able to switch the focus of his players and lift his players. And it's not so much about confidence, it's just more about getting them back on track and giving them that belief that they are good enough, and to put the last defeat behind them. And he's very good at that. And of course they've analysed last Saturday's defeat to Watford, and all the players get given their videos, and they all watch it together and that kind of thing. But I don't think that lasts too long. You know, they're quick to move on and look ahead to the next game, and everybody kind of pull their levels up and their consistency levels up, and I'm sure we'll see that tomorrow.
Certainly hope so. And one man there's a lot of talk about, Glenn Murray, obviously went down, took a pretty bad knock, pretty bad injury in all fairness.
Yeah.
Nuno wasn't really drawn on that at all, was he? He was more looking toward his own squad, looking at this Wolves squad. He's not too worried about the opposition, he's more focused on what he wants Wolves to do, isn't he?
No, and again, and he's been very consistent with those kind of messages throughout his tenure here. Glenn Murray, Brighton's talisman, would be a big boost if he wasn't involved. And considering the seriousness of the injury last week, I mean, he took a really nasty blow to the head, knocked unconscious, and was taken to hospital. Now, thankfully, he's got the all clear since then, but you tend to find these days 7 days after a concussion, I don't know, that's pushing it a bit, I think, for him to be involved again. Brighton have said this morning that they'll take a decision today, Chris Hughton says, but we'll see. But yeah, Nuno will prepare obviously for with and without Glenn Murray, and they've got Locadia who can come in, who was very nearly signed last January or the summer before maybe, very close to bringing him in. Didn't happen for a variety of reasons from PSV, so he'll probably come in for Glenn Murray. He'll be an obvious danger man. Anthony Knockaert has done very well against Wolves in the past, another obvious one. So they've got some good players, they're a very consistent team, and they're hard to beat. So Wolves will definitely 100% have to be much better than they were last week, otherwise it'll be 2 defeats in a row. Yeah,
it certainly could be. And you said Glenn Murray was a talisman. Someone who was a talisman for Wolves last season, Diogo Jota, hasn't really hit the ground running in the Premier League this season, so not really scoring any goals.
No.
What were Nuno's thoughts on him? It's more and more of a matter of just staying confident.
Yeah, I mean, he's always going to back his players in public, and Jota's been a huge player for Wolves since he joined last summer. 18 goals last season. Without his goals, they may not have won promotion. You never know. He was a very, very important part of everything that Wolves did. This season hasn't hit those heights yet, as could be said for a few of his teammates. You know, certainly Ruben Neves, although he's been consistent and been fine, hasn't hit the heights of last season yet. Costa as well, not at his best, but Jota's the one, I think, because everybody looks to him as a source of inspiration. Because we've seen it time and again last year. It just hasn't happened yet. Whether it's a lack of confidence or not, I don't know. It certainly looks like it on the pitch for me, because you can see him second guessing himself and not playing on instincts, and not doing the things that we saw time and time again last year. So would a break do him good? That's certainly kind of a growing consensus amongst the Wolves fans. Steve Bull said it in his column this week. Perhaps a good idea to take him out the firing line. The big thing for me is the options that they've got on the bench. You can bring in Ivan Cavallero. You can bring in Adama Traore. You know, Cavallero 12 assists and 9 goals last year. Traore, we know what he can do. A special explosive talent. So Wolves aren't short of options in those areas. And I think after last week's defeat, it may be an opportune moment to change things up. Nuno says he debates whether he changes his lineup every single week, and of course he does. But I think this now more than ever, after naming the same team for 9 games in a row, Wolves have had a fantastic start to the season. It's been brilliant, but they do need to score more goals. They've only scored 9 in 9 games, and that's got to change because their defensive record has been excellent, but I don't see that staying the case forever. I think they'll start to shoot more goals as the season goes on, so they've got to score more at the other end.
Certainly do. Brighton, when they of course went up last season, they were a pleasant surprise to a lot of people. Obviously, did that thing where they jump up and they stay up.
Yeah.
Wolves, of course, have impressed a lot of people this season, so that they won't be able to take Brighton easy, will they? It's going to be a tough game, especially travelling down to the Amex.
Yeah, it will be tough, and it's funny because when a team is newly promoted, you may say, would you like to replicate what Brighton have done?
Yeah.
But Wolves have got their sights set higher than that. With the greatest respect to Brighton, I think Wolves are looking to get into the kind of top 6 and 7, while they've stated it in the Premier League sooner rather than later. That wouldn't be Brighton's immediate ambition. Obviously, they would love that to happen, but Brighton are more about stability and staying in the league for as long as they can, and then take it from there. So, but it'll be a very tough place to go. They earned 29 points at home last season. They're the worst away record in the Premier League, so it's the home record that kept them up. They don't score a huge amount, but they don't let a huge amount in either. They're very consistent. They've got players who've been there for a number of years, and Nuno said that that's certainly a good thing. He wants to keep the same core as well throughout the next kind of few years. So there's a lot of players. The fullbacks, Bruno and Bong. You've got Stevens, Kayal, Knockhart. A lot of these guys have been there for a few years now, but they're very consistent. You know what you're going to get with them. So they'll be organised and they'll be tough to break down. So like I said, Wolves don't score or concede many either, so it may not be a classic, and it'll be down to those little kind of special moments, I think, perhaps in the final third, which is why you want either Jota and Costa to step up, or you'd be looking at those changes to be made. But a really interesting game. Like I said, I expect an improved Wolves performance, and if they can play like they have done in their past kind of few away games, then they can certainly pick up 3 points.
Do you expect them to do that, or will you take a draw?
I think you take a draw. You want to avoid 2 consecutive defeats. Like I said, it's a very tough place to go. I know Wolves have got Spurs and Arsenal to come after that, and you're kind of saying, they could do with a win before those games. But the way Wolves have been playing at their best, you
got results against City and United.
That's what I mean. You back them to give Spurs a damn good game at Molineux on the Saturday night after, and then Arsenal away, looking really tough. But you never know. You never know. So I would take a point, and I think that's the most likely result looking at it.
Yeah. So a long old trip for Brighton, for Wolves and Nuno. For the latest on it, make sure you stay with us at expressandstar.com.